right, guys. It looks like we are going into lesson 12, page 1. If you got any trouble downloading it, let me know. I'll send it in an email your way. Some students are saying that they're having trouble with iTunes again, so I don't know if it's acting up on anybody else. Otherwise, what I'm going to do today, I said I'm going to do front page. So what I just started looking it over. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do part A and number 1 today. And then I'll do part B of the warm-up and then number 2 on the back page tomorrow. I think that would probably be the best bet. All right, so I'm going to start off with a little bit of review for you guys. This is a quadratic inequality. So I'm just going to kind of go through these steps. The only way we could solve quadratics is if we set it equal to 0. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of that inequality sign and change it so it is an equation. And then what we're going to want to do is make sure that we set it equal to 0 overall. So in order to do that, we got to move the 5 over to the other side. I don't think anybody's going to struggle with this portion of it. Usually when we get to factoring, you guys are pretty good with that. If we're factoring 6 and we want it to be a positive 1, it looks like it's going to be 3 and 2. Oh, you're here, Hannah. What's going on? And because it's 3 and 2, it's just going to be 3's positive, 2's negative. Oh, you're actually watching it? Fishing and doing math. You're living the life. And now when we solve it, we'll have x equals negative 3. X is equal to positive 2. So those are two solutions if we started off with an equation, but this was an inequality. When we did inequalities, we had to make sure that we drew a little number line afterwards. And we'll have to figure out if they're open or closed circles. And we did something called a test point to figure out if the lines go in or out. So hopefully that's all sounding kind of familiar because we did it just a couple weeks ago. So my two answers are negative 3 and 2. And I know these are going to be open circles because the original function up here did not have an equal sign. So we know that means it's going to be open. So I got an open on the negative 3, open on the 2. And then I just have to do our little test point. And the easiest test point between negative 3 and 2 is going to be 0. So I just have to plug it into that original function. I'm writing invisible right now, so let's see if it will all show up okay. Man, this iPad has really been acting up. There it goes. So I plugged in 0 for everything. I'm going to simplify it down. It looks like I'm just going to have negative 1 is less than 5. And that is true. It checks. So if the test point checks, then we just have to connect the dots. So if you graph it, that will give you the values as far as a picture form. But this question's asking us to write it in interval notation. So if we want to write it in interval notation, we now know what the smallest number is going to be, and we know what the largest number is going to be. Negative 3 is the smallest, 2 is the largest. Since we're working with x's, that is our middle variable, and we always use less than symbols. And since they're both open, no equal sign. So we are good to go as far as this one goes. That is our interval notation. That was all for part A. I look down, look up, and all of a sudden I see we got like 10 people in here. So if you missed what I said at the beginning, we're doing part A and number 1 today. Tomorrow we'll do the warm-up part B, and then we'll do number 2 on the back tomorrow. Okay. So everything I just did in part A, just review questions. We did them earlier this month, I guess. It's crazy that we're going on 5 weeks right now. Yeah, this was just review, Hannah. I'm going to scroll down. So now the first one down here is going to be, it's still piecewise stuff because we did some piecewise stuff last week. I wanted to continue on, just do a couple more word problems. I don't want to give you guys a crazy amount of new stuff while we're off. So, hey, what's going on, Jeremy? Yeah, I don't want to give you guys a crazy amount of new stuff, so I'm trying to like just recycle and give you guys the same kind of stuff over and over so you don't necessarily need me when you're completing these assignments. So the next one I'm going to do is a piecewise one with you guys. It says at Debbie's Dog Grooming Services, a customer is charged based on their dog's weight. If your dog is 15 pounds and under, the groomer charges $35. If your dog is between 15 and 40, she charges $40. And if your dog is over 40 pounds, she charges 40 plus an additional $2 for each pound. Okay, so what I'm going to do is and I really should update this lesson so it gives the X and Y axis, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to create the X and Y axis on here, and I'm just going to put it right at the edge. And I'm going to show you guys how to create the function, how to graph it, and do what you need to do. If you guys recall, I did a graphing one, piecewise word problem with you guys a couple lessons ago. I think it was lesson 8, maybe. And in that piecewise, I told you guys that it's much, much easier to graph it first and then go back and write down the equation. And that's just a recommendation. If you feel like you can create the equation without the graph, I say go for it. But I'm always going to do part B first, and then I'm going to go back and find the equation after. So in this case, it says your dog is 15 pounds and under, the groomer charges $35. So before I can start graphing it, I just have to make sure I know which part's going to be money, which part's going to be pounds. I'm going to do money up the y-axis, and I'm going to do pounds along the x-axis. And it doesn't really matter which way we go about it. It's just the way I'm going to choose. So down here is all going to be pounds. And I probably should write this off to the side so I have room to write down the numbers. And then I'm going to say up here is going to be money. And just so we can try to fit everything on here, I think I'm going to write it out. I'll count by fives because it looks like it says we're going to go as low as 15 pounds all the way up to 40. Yeah, I'm going to count it by fives. So we got 5. I got to change the thickness of the pen. So we got 5, 10, all the way up to 40. And I'll do the same thing with the money. The money says that it's going to be what we have $35, we have $40, and then 40 plus $2 each. So yeah, I'll do the same thing. So in this part, there's 3 pieces to the problem. We have the dog being 15 pounds and under. And if they are that, the groomer's going to charge $35. We have the dog being between 15 and 40, and she's going to charge $40. And we have the dog being over 40 pounds, and she's going to charge $40 plus $2 for each pound after that. So the first one is going to be pretty easy to graph because what you guys will notice is it's the same price for any dog that weighs under 15 pounds. So if they weigh 15 pounds, 14 pounds, 13 pounds, all the way down to 1 pound, it's going to cost the same price. So I know from 0 all the way up to 15, it's going to cost us, what did it say? $35. So I'm going to put a dot here at 35, and I'm going to be careful with that dot. I'm going to show it as a closed dot right now, but I'm going to be careful with that right now. And it's going to go all the way to 15 pounds. The reason why I said you got to be careful with this is because it's not always going to be closed circles. If you think about weighing a dog that weighs 0 pounds doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a dog weighing 0 pounds. Maybe it weighs under a pound when it's like just as a puppy. So I guess technically I should have made this one an open circle. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do that. So technically it should be an open circle right here. I should have never made it closed to begin with. However, at 15 pounds, it is going to be worth that $35. So the first part of this piecewise is going to be a line connecting those two dots right there. Okay. The next part says that if the dog is between 15 and 40 pounds, she's going to charge $40. So I'm still at 15 all the way up to 30 pounds. 40 pounds, I'm sorry. So from 15 all the way to 40. So I'm starting here, and I don't know if this is supposed to be open or closed unless I look at my graph. I know this has to be open because if we make this closed right now, that means it's going to fail the vertical line test. You can't have two closed circles overlapping each other. That can't happen. So this has to be an open circle. Plus, we said if the dog weighed 15 pounds, it was 35. We can't say it's 35 and it's 40. So it has to be an open circle at that 40. So we start at 15 pounds, and this is going to go all the way to 40 pounds. Now let's read how the question says. It says, if the dog is between 15 and 40, she charges $40. So it looks like that 40 is going to be included here. So that one's going to be closed. I don't know why I'm darkening it, and I don't just pick a thicker line. Now the last part says, if the dog weighs over 40 pounds. So we have everything between 0 and 40 completed. So what I should be doing is making sure I'm adding on to my axis right now. Oh my gosh, I hate this iPad. Froze on me again. Beautiful. Yep, Notability crashed. I got to reopen it. Beautiful. Just love technology. Now it's going to take forever to load up, too. Let's see here. Oop, this isn't even the right class. We're doing level, 12. All right. Oh my gosh, it like erased. I got to get this stuff fixed. I got to call Chad. All right. So what we need to do is we just have to add on down here. So we have 45, 50, because a dog doesn't end at 40 pounds. It can just keep going on. Why do I want to keep skipping numbers? It can keep going on forever and ever and ever and ever. Same thing for money. The way this worked, it says it was $40 plus an additional $2 for each pound. So you better hope you don't have a heavy dog, because she is going to charge you a lot of money in order to go there. Now, she said for every pound over 40. I know, I said level 12, not less than 12. So every single pound over 40 is going to be an extra $2 added on. So we know that it's going to be increasing. And it's going to keep doing this forever and ever and ever. Again, I should have changed the thickness of that line so it's a little bit easier to see for you guys. So I told you guys when we did Piecewise, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, that Piecewise is used for a lot of businesses and how they calculate the revenue that they can bring in. So if you are planning on doing something with business in your future, you will see a lot of piecewise functions. You'll see a lot of line graphs. Based on this, we want to try to create this graph the best we can. Now, the line that I just drew, I kind of sketched it in based on what I counted up by on the left, because it says it's going up $2 each time. But if I follow the rise over run on this one, it looks like it's saying it's $5 each time, which is not true. So I should have angled mine a little bit better. It should be more like this, and it's going on forever and ever and ever. But besides the point, we can figure that out by just writing out the equation, which is what we were supposed to do in part A. So now that the graph is created, I'm going to go back to part A. When we do piecewise functions, I'm just going to write f of x is equal to, and then we got our little squiggly bracket. So we have three functions. We just have to state what all three of those lines are. The first two are going to be easier than the green one because they're horizontal lines, and horizontal lines are just whatever the number is. So the first one was $35 because it's passing through 35. The second one was passing through 40, or it's on 40, so I can put that one down. Now I'm going to skip over that last one for now. We're just going to do the domain for the first two, and then I'll say the equation for the last one, and then we can call it quits for today. The domain for the first one, we said that we started at the number 5, as you guys can see on the graph, and it goes all the way up to 15. So we know we're going from 5 to 15. We're talking about the domain, so that's the x values. Why did I say 5? I meant to say 0. And we said 0 cannot exist. It cannot be equal to 0, so we're just going to put down less than. So 0 is going to be less than x all the way up to 15, but it can be equal to 15 because 15 was a closed dot. Now I'm just going to repeat the steps for the 40. The 40, we started at 15. We went all the way up to 40. And again, we said that that 40 was included. Anywhere between 15 and 40 was going to be equal to that. Yeah, Hannah, if you prefer doing the equations first, you can. I know some people like seeing the picture before they do the equations, but either way, it doesn't matter. The next one is a little tricky because you will need to find your y-intercept. And there's a very easy way to find the y-intercept as long as you guys remember the equation of a line. So this green line, we're working with y equals mx plus b. We already know what the slope is because it said that we're charging an extra $2 for every pound. So the slope is just 2x because we're going up 2 over 1, even though it's not really shown on that graph. The b value is what we don't know. So because we don't know the b value, the only way we can find this equation is by picking an x and y that falls on that line. Well, we already have a point that falls on that line, and it's the point that we connected to that red line right there. That line was at $40 for 40 pounds. So we can plug in 40 for the x and y and figure out what that y-intercept is to plug in for that final equation. Those ones are probably the most complicated ones because we haven't done a lot of word problems that ask us to find the y-intercept because we can normally just extend it. We can't extend this one nicely because it's not counting up by 2s. We made it so it was counting up by 5s. So now that I'm going to plug them in, I'm going to have 40 is equal to 2 times 40 plus b, which is really just 40 equals 80 plus b. And if I subtract the 80 over to the other side, I'm going to have negative 40 is equal to the y-intercept. Now we can write down the full equation of 2x minus 80. So that only matters if we're trying to find how much money or how much extra money that we're looking to spend in this case. Okay? And that's going to be between, what was that, from 40 all the way up to infinity. Okay. So I'm just going to leave it there. I don't care about answering the next couple of questions. I mean, I know you guys can answer it. If it's at 80 pounds and they're charging $2 for every extra, we just have to figure out that extra cost that they're going to be paying and then adding it to find the total. I guess I'll do it real quick. So if it's 80 pounds, that means it's 40 extra pounds, right? So if we plug 80 back into our formula, we know it's 80 pounds, so it has to go into the third part of our formula. Well, if you plug in 80, 2 times 80 is 160, minus 80 is going to be $80. Well, that isn't the total because they said that you are going to be spending $40 plus $2 for every extra one. So that being said, there you go. So it's $40 for that 40 pounds, plus you're paying $2 for every extra one. Oh yeah, so that would be it, right? So tomorrow we're going to do a problem that's going to be very similar, as you guys can see. It's talking about making money over the summer. This would probably be more relatable to you guys because I know a lot of you guys have jobs outside of school and a lot of you guys have been working them outside of school. And this is just talking about overtime, which I know a lot of you guys have been working, being that we have had this time off from school. So hopefully you guys are being paid correctly. I'll tell you guys right now, and hopefully this doesn't happen to you guys, but this is a real life story. My brother, he just trusted his paycheck that he got from his company. Every single time he got it, he saw his pay, he goes, yep, I'm good, put it in the bank. He got a phone call from an attorney. This just happened about a month ago. They found out that his overtime pay, so he got paid $12 an hour. Overtime is time and a half. So he should have been getting paid $18 an hour for every overtime hour he worked. They were paying him only the half. So they were only paying him $6 for every overtime hour instead of the 18. So the attorney called him, found out they were doing it to everybody in the company. My brother just got like a $6,000 or $7,000 check in the mail the other day. If he sat down and he were not to necessarily do the line graphs, but if he were to sit down and actually calculate everything on his own, he would have recognized it way back then, and he wouldn't have had to wait. I guess this would have been, he quit that job, I think 4 years ago. I think that's what it was. So, and he just found out about a month or two ago that this was going on. So there was a class action lawsuit, and there was about, I think it was 35 employees were affected. So again, tomorrow may relate to you guys a little bit more because you would be able to calculate how much you would have on your own, and you're not trusting a computer or a piece of paper, because that's the last thing I would want you guys, that I would like to happen, or it's the last thing I would want to happen to you guys, because that's a lot of money to lose out on. But yeah, so I'll end it on that. That's all I got. So all I did again was number one. We'll finish the rest of this tomorrow. What do we got? It's already almost 4:30. So all right, I will catch you guys later. Try to get outside if you can. I think it's still pretty beautiful out. I'm looking through my window. It looks like blue skies and sunny up here. Hopefully it is down there for you. Get outside, enjoy it a little bit, because it's supposed to rain every day this week. All right, so adios. I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.